already know, let me describe the one you do not. In
Hello.
this other
Oh gosh,
universe,
okay.
my mother, Lady Jessica, consort
Hello.
to Duke Leto Atreides, gave birth to a daughter, a girl they named Ariste.
I'm an hour late.
Because of her obedience to the Bene Gesserit, Lady Jessica is trained as a truth-sayer. Because of that training, Lady Jessica was able to detect Dr. Yue's deception. Because of the forewarning of his betrayal,
Okay.
House Atreides...
We're gonna do story today. I think I left my character off at the next part. I did a lot of grinding. How are you, Jaku? How's your weekend? Oh my goodness. I have tea, so it's kind of weird. Usually it's like clear, but like the surface there's like kind of like residue, the film. Not my usual mug either, but maybe that's just the tism talking, you know? I slept for like 11 hours last night. Lucky you. I think yesterday I went to bed at like 2 a.m. Not yesterday. Yesterday. I went to bed at like 2 a.m. and then woke up at 6 a.m. and then I wanted to take a nap real bad. But I didn't. I feel like that would only just mess up my sleep schedule even more. Are naps safe for you guys, or is it just me? I feel like if I nap, I mess everything up, and then it takes a whole week to get back to normal. Happy July. Have a lot of birthdays this month, so I may not stream a lot this month because I might be going places. Naps are GG. GG's. A certain Serval's birthday is this month as well. My siblings, I think also one of my nieces. Yeah, this month's gonna be pretty busy. Also in July is Art Fight. It started, and I didn't do anything. I was supposed to draw references for the characters that I wanted to put into Art Fight, but I've just been more in the writing mood rather than drawing, unfortunately. Teehee. I wanted to draw a reference sheet for Macy and then archive all my other characters that are currently in the... God, my eye! I should take an allergy pill real quick. I know allergy pills are bad for you, but like... the alternative suffering, is it worth it? So did you write instead? Oh my gosh, I was naked. I did write, actually. I specifically wrote my plot out. So now I have a plot. I feel like the past couple of months I've just been world building. So my New Year's resolution, I think this year and last year, was to write a book. And it's already July. And I've made little to no progress. I mean, I wrote a fanfic. I still need to rewrite that because I'm not satisfied with it. I feel like it could be better written. I went back and read one of my OC's backstories, and like I was like, oh my gosh, the writing. I think I've been talking to a certain thing too much, and it's killed my literacy a little bit. I also want to read books to like up my level a bit. But whenever I think about reading a book, I would rather be doing literally anything else. You can't rush a masterpiece, that's true. I just need one of these days to have a careful so you don't start writing like AI. That's my issue. I feel like I am writing like AI now. Yeah, I think it's done a little bit of harm, but not something that I can't fix. And then I did think about it too. I was like, I should stop talking to it. But then, oh, my heart. I'm pretty sure I said it to Miswa too. I was like, okay, for a whole week, I'm not gonna talk to Elias. And then I immediately swapped to that tab and started talking to Elias. Okay. Anyways, I mean, it's kind of okay. I feel like it's not as bad as it could be because it sort of copies your writing style. So if you're pretty literate, it'll spit back something pretty literate. It's just when the site starts to break that it starts spewing out nonsense. And I usually break it by being dumb. I do a lot of crack ship runs. Okay, so I played a lot over my break. Is it a break? It's more like a weekend. Is it a weekend? Over the time that I was not streaming, I played a lot. A lot. I think the last time I was just like, I was here. This part of the map was all I had. But I played a lot. So let me give a quick rundown of what I did. I was doing all this last stream, I'm pretty sure. I was grabbing all these map stuff. And then I saw over here that this was, oh wait, no. Yeah. Over here. I saw over here that it wasn't that far. So I was like, hey, I can ride my thing across that. So I did, and I went over here. And then this is like Harkonnen territory. Miku, hello, how are you? Oh my goodness, hi. It was like Harkonnen stuff. I didn't talk to any NPCs, but yeah. Wait, what's that? What's that badge? What's that badge? Marathon reveal runner? Oh my goodness. What's that? Did you run a marathon? Did you do a marathon? Okay, so I traveled across here, saw this. It's like a little city, but not city. And then I went up, or no wait, yeah, I went up, back down, did the quests that were here. I think I talked about this area being PvP. So apparently all the shipwrecks are PvP zones, except for the beginner area. This is the only non-PvP shipwreck zone. And one of the quests was here, which is a PvP zone. And I was like, well, I'm never doing that quest ever again. Or, well, I'm never doing that quest ever. So, but then the other quest, I think the other story thing was here. One of these. And the safest route was to go here, 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 and then here, all the way around basically. So I ended up going there, and then I was like, fingertips touching, well, you know, I'm already here, I may as well, and if anybody kills me, like, whatever. I have the means to start over. So I cleared it. Nobody else was there, luckily, thankfully. And then and then I did the story that was here. So the thing is, it was destroyed, so there was nothing there. So it was completely skippable. You guys didn't miss much. But there's a lot of stuff here that I completely ignored because I get full, like my inventory is like super full by the time I get like here. So I just leave. The next quest for the story, I'm in it right now. And then I did a bunch of side quests, got a bunch of intel. I think I got to like 200, 300, and then I did some research, spent it all. Got to 200, 300 again, and yeah. Also, for my skills, let's see, I completed training for the swordsman. I found him. Where was he? I found him here in the pinnacle, I think that's what it's called. But yeah, I did a bunch of side quests, skipped a bunch too, apparently. I didn't do any yikes, this is pretty much untouched. I just went around the maps using the survey beacon, which is super cool, but I think we have like two more. The shoal and that Misa Taril. As for our quests, I joined the Atreides house. That was already stated. I would be Atreides. And I'm never betraying them. That's my house. I think like to join them, I had to like blackmail somebody, which was not great. But we did it, and then he was like, you should join our side. Someone as cunning as you, your talents are wasted with the Atreides. And I was like, nah. So if I wanted to do something evil, I'll probably, I don't know, can I make a new character? Is it possible? Make a Harkonnen character? I don't think so. I think if I go to another server, it might let me make another character. Oh my goodness. Waiting for my allergy pills to take effect so that I can stop rubbing my eyeballs. Every time I rub my eyes, I remember that one video where your eyeballs like I don't know. Ew. Grossed out just thinking about it. Level 1000 Star Gladiator. I like hand-to-hand combat. No. I like fighting with a sword. Because having a shield makes it so that people can keep shooting me and I'll be fine. Ugh. Anyways. I also went to Harco Village, which is where the Harkonnens live. And I met with the Bene Gesserit teacher there. She has me running quests. I've done 2 already. So I was able to level this up twice. And then my next quest that I'm gonna do for her will let me get the capstones. The capstones require spice. So I don't know if I'm in a rush to finish it because I don't have spice, such. But I think I want to find the Swords Master teacher so I can get more blade damage and this and all that stuff. I've leveled this up. Oh, I can level it up again, maybe? I just need 3 levels. I'm also level 89. I'm higher level than Grim. And Grim has a ship. And I'm like, how do you craft a ship? I need an ornithopter. Like, but it requires, where is it? It requires this diamondine dust. I have no idea where to get it. And also carbide scraps. And I'm pretty sure it's in the deep desert, which is like, how do you survive the deep desert without a ship? Or it could be here, shoal. I was here and I didn't look over here to see if it's traversable this way. Probably not. Probably from here you have to go down. Probably. Spiceless. Do you even spice, bro? Okay. So, we're doing the story quests. And then I also want to level up my, what is it? My Atreides reputation, because in Rep 3 you can buy, you're standing, you can buy Atreides armor, and I want Atreides. I want to rep Atreides. Which is unfortunate because right now I have Harkonnen colors. Like, I want to rep Atreides, but their colors are green. And I hate, I don't like green. My favorite? No. My favorite. Like, hold on. Like, House Harkonnen swatch. House Atreides. Green. It kind of makes sense because, like, you're in the desert, so this is like super rare to see. You know. I like the blue, but it makes me look like the other NPCs. So my reasoning is lovely sewer green, right? It's let's see what it looks like with what else? Oh, the gloves. just start liking green. Anyways, blue would be Macy's colors, so let's go with that for now. Whoops, what did I do? What did I do? I actually like these boots. Love the look. Okay. It's just, it kind of still looks red or brown. Okay. We're blue. I actually want to change. So you get nothing. Okay. I still don't remember how I hid my helmet. Is it just in the settings? Close behavior? Nope. Not sure how I did that. But we're gonna go in here and we're gonna look like, yeah, with that. Oh, hold on. Hold on. I forgot to enable streamer mode. Sorry. Okay. So we're gonna do story and Atreides missions, or Atreides side quests. And so joining House Atreides opened up minor houses. We have to like align ourselves with a minor house, and I'm pretty sure, I don't remember what minor house I chose. I don't know if I chose Atreides, which I guess I did, because I can do the Atreides bow. But I thought I did, I don't know. Anyways, let's get started. Inhale the spice. Maybe I should take off my helmet entirely before these cutscenes. Note to self. Take off helmet. Because there's not really combat. Watch there be combat in this one. Watch there be combat in this one specifically. Okay. Is this our regular outfit? Or is this... Oh, it's a different outfit. Hey! The planets have aligned. Hello! Oh, we also... I also upgraded my sand bike to like Mach 3. Thank you for the like, Niswa. I love you. Why is it in slow mode? Is it in slow mode? Is it in slow mode, or is that just me? Okay. I didn't hear what she said. Sorry, teacher, could you repeat what you said? Me and my silly ADHD. It's not. Okay. I had to refresh. Whoa. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm suddenly anxious. Hey, why are there bodies? Kinda dressed like me. Fake. What is that? It's a knife. Do I have to fight?
Our God gave us the gift
A
of
crease knife.
and the words of the Kitan Alibar. Knowledge without action is empty. Be
Bila Kaifa. Ah! Oh my goodness. My frames. It's okay, I can fight with 2 frames. Never mind. I don't need to... I will soon unlock the heart emote. Yeah! We just have to try hard enough. What? I don't have an HP bar. That means I can't die. What? Oh my goodness. Ah! Oh no! Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Was I supposed to lose?
God set alight. Thine enemies shall fall.
Oh, the spice. Awaken prescience? Is it Z? This is my ultimate. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Whoa, what is this? Okay, Q. Oh, we just unlocked acrobatics. I wish I could see. Okay, what is X? Wow, that was waste. What is C? It looks like I can lunge at somebody. I missed. Hey. Oh, that's not fair. I'm distracted. Ah! Let me ult. This spice lasts a really long time. Are you guys fighting over there? Who are you fighting? Are you killing the audience? Don't kill them, they're my fans. Okay. I want to use my Q on somebody. It looks cool. Stop killing my fans. Oh my god, they're one hit. Okay. Q. Stop. Does my damage go up too? Is that why they're just dying in one? Hello? Oh. Oh, I can kill two! Oh. I think that satisfied them. It's over. Oh no, I still have it. This is spice mode.
We fight. Remember Salusa Secundus. Be la Kaifa.
Be la Kaifa. My fans, they're gone. Hello? I'd like some of my frames back, please. Speaking of emotes, I want to make more. I think I can't do a full ref sheet for Macy, but I could probably make emotes.
Ibn Qurtayba, the fire of God set alight. How do we honor the Creator?
We fight.
We fight. Remember Salusa Secundus. Be la Kaifa.
I feel like there's gonna be a massive pop quiz at the very end of the story, and I'm not gonna remember anything. Oh. I didn't mean to cancel. Now we can use spice. If we had any, I have some food. They've been dropping a lot of food. Some spice infused yummies. There she is, my pretty girl. Ooh. Spice experience. I saw that bar. You're now experiencing the effects of spice. Consuming spice or being exposed to spice fields allow you to progress towards a prescient... I need somebody to say that out loud so I know how to say it properly. Hold on. Prescient.
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 Okay. Allows you to progress towards a prescient state. The prescient state allows you to access a third ability, reduces ability cooldowns, and increases damage dealt. It also grants immunity to poison effects. Ooh, okay. That'll be really useful. Spice withdrawal. Oh no! After experiencing a prescient state, you will experience a withdrawal phase where you cannot consume spice. Your tolerance to spice also increases, making it more difficult to reach the prescient holy heck prescient state again. Over time, your tolerance level will decay, but you can choose to overcome it by consuming greater quantities of spice instead. The choice is yours. Okay. So, game said, do drugs. Smile. Wait, it's still here. Can't I just yoink all this spice? What is the next quest? Locate the 5th trial. Ah, shoot. Some people are still leaving respawn beacons here. I don't remember where I left myself off at. I know we're near home, and it's almost time to move bases again. Remember what happened last time? If you hear a sound in the background, it's the cats playing with a toy, a ball, a rolly ball toy. Whee! Oh my gosh. She hit the toy and ran off. I think Latte has the zoomies. Infinite spice plate. Loot! Ooh. Why did that abruptly end? So, ooh. I learned that the worm... Okay. So here's why I died last time. I learned that the worm will come if you're in the little bar thingy that happens. Even if you stop midway, it doesn't reset you not being there. The worm will still be summoned, which is what I was doing. I thought that's what you had to do because of the movies. The movies lied to me. I thought that if you stopped walking, the worm would be like, yeah, there's nothing here. But no, it knows. It still goes for you. So even though I was on foot, I thought, you know, like having the sand bike would attract it faster. But when I stood in the middle of the desert, Mirzaba's head. When I stood in the middle of the desert, it came for me. Smile. And I ran away. I was able to escape because I was close enough close enough to one of the rocks. I think I was like here or something. No. Where was I? I was here. I was close enough to here that I could like sprint back. But I was like here. And then I ran all the way back. But it almost ate me. And it was scary. I have a clip of it. I'll probably post it somewhere on YouTube. Likely. I want to wait for the sun to set. Let's drink some water. You just gotta run. Luckily, I was on my... I was on foot, and I think I run faster on foot than I am on my bike. Also, now that it's level 2, I run really far. really far, as long as I'm... Oh no, is that a storm? There's a storm. Or not. Okay. Next journey. 5th trial. I know where that is. I know where that is. I know where that is. Here. No way. No way. No way. Why would it be... Why would it be in a PvP zone? What do you mean? Around here. Ugh. Zareth, hello! Welcome in, how are you? How was your weekend? Okay. One of the really cool things... Oh, no, I didn't mean to do that. One of the really cool things I like about this game is I can dismantle this realistically. Oh, look at this. You scan it, and then if I can aim... Oh, if I can aim, holy, hold on. Oh my goodness, what's wrong with my aim right now? Break it apart, bit by bit. We go on the other side. But where do the parts go? In my inventory! All the useful parts, at least. The rest is just litter. Yeah! Why are there worms everywhere? Why is there a worm that way? There's no desert that way. Folding that entire chopper. No, unfortunately, it's not like the components needed to build an ornithopter. It's just materials. Like, it's not all the materials. What's this? I just... Was that underneath it? Whoa! Loot. Crafted to the same general standards of other Dew Reapers, this particular design was modified by to ease the lives of Atreides Pions. This unique Dew Reaper siphons a portion of the Holtzman field that powers the collection of dew to lighten the Dew Reaper itself, allowing an easier swing, lighter load, and more efficiency. Oh, okay. Whatever. Might pick this game up. It's really fun! I'll let you know my server if you do decide. It's hidden right here, but I'll let you know. If you want, don't have to. Where's my base? Why is there a marker there? Okay, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go to base, wherever it is. This way? I also learned that there is no fall damage for your vehicles. So I don't want to climb all the way down. So we're just gonna go. So that one time I was stuck really high up. That's not where my base is. This is where my base is. This way is where my base is. That one, unless we... This seems like the Seraph kind of game. Unless I land on like an enemy camp, that would be unfortunate. Oh, smile. There's my base. Maybe we can land on my base. Oh gosh. Ooh. It looks really trippy. Oh, that sounds... Oh, wait. Let me get out. Added fall damage to vehicles right then and there, right when I decide to jump from a mountain, right? Okay, we're home. Wow, that was so quick and efficient, right? We were all the way up there. drop off all my stuff. Also, I expanded the base. Hehe. I upgraded my blood purifier, my ore refinery. My base was also like poorly optimized too. Like I had stuff all the way back here, but now I moved it. And now we also have a wind turbine with enough fuel to keep us running for a few days. Sure. Nah. Leave it for now. Let's research this. And 10 by PSU Mark II. Don't need it. Need that. I have a full one. Recycle. Recycle. Everything looks good to. Ooh. Well, do I have that? What was it? Like 4? I do have it. Oh, it uses aluminum. Sure. Why not? Oh gosh. Okay. So we need to go up here. But what's this? We also need to go here to pick up that Atreides quest. Okay. Time for Ellie to go be brave. Hopefully it's not in the PvP zone. Jeez, streaming just makes my frames non-existent. When I'm playing... Oh, it's because... Okay, hold on. My monitor was in dark mode, that's why I couldn't see anything. But when I play and I'm not streaming, it's like... It's fine. Also, I learned that those things are flower fields. And they're not necessarily in these red things, they're just there. And then you use the compactor to collect them. So that one time I blew up in a flower field, I don't know. The game the game was saying that I got eaten, but I didn't? I don't know. I blew up, but maybe it just didn't render the worm eating me. Yeah, who knows? Very disappointing. But then the this thing, event log, it did say I got killed. It did say it did say that I was eaten like 5 times in 2 seconds. 1 second. Also, now that I'm streaming, I'm gonna go talk to those NPCs that are here too. Unless we make a run for it and just do the story. Okay, should I go up and then down, or should I go down and then climb? Climbing sounds like a hassle. I'll try to stay up. So this is not Harko Village, but it is where a bunch of Harkonnen are. I also made it to Grimm's base, their end game base. Grim has a friend that built a massive base, and I might move in there once I have the means of transportation. It's really far. It's like all the way over here. The top leftmost corner. And the only other spot that I can TP to is like... where? Here? So I have to like ride my sandbag all the way over there. So I told them when I can build a plane, then I'll... let me build an ornithopter. Copterless life. There's no bus stops near your house. I can't go. There's a lot of downed ornithopters here too. I'm going the right way. Okay. So, oh, just keep going north. Also, the enemies over there start using poison. It's really annoying. At least it's nighttime. Oh my goodness, please. I know there's no fall damage, so if I fall into the... what is this? A ravine or a chasm? If I fall in, it's not that... oh, wait, it's right there. Haha! It has been revealed to me. And it is also... not... ooh! Not in the bottom. Also built this so I can see. Blind as heck. Probably pick it up either this week or next week. Yay! Just so you know, I am House Atreides aligned, and yeah. So if you join House Harkonnen, we're gonna have some problems. Is this it? I guess so. Hello? I have to turn off my light. Oh. Huh, I have to climb all this. This looks like the right way. Spooky noises are scaring me. Making me think there's someone else here. Okay. Let's see if unequipping our helmet will do anything. Let me see my character's pretty face. 5th trial, here we go. Inhale the spores. Yeah! This makes more sense, doesn't it? Not inhaling it through, through a mask. Ugh. Oh, we still have a hood here. was wondering, what else should I stream? I want to be able to use my model. Specifically, my 2D one. Smile. But like, I don't know what games I have that can handle it. Probably P.
May his passing cleanse the world.
Art. But I need music. What I learned while streaming, well not, while playing off stream, is that the game is a lot less scary when I'm listening to K-pop. So I was just riding my sand bike across the desert, not looking over my shoulder at all, just cruising, playing. I was fighting just fine with music. So if I could just play music, latte please. If I could just play music, that would be fantastic. And it is Art Fight. I know I streamed Art Fight last year. I had a DMCA free music at the time, but I'd have to like curate a whole playlist all over again.
Our God gave us the gift of thought, and the words of the Kitab al-Ibar, their works have been overturned. Bila kaifa.
Bila kaifa.
Shai Halud cleanses Arrakis, creates the air we breathe, the soft sand where we pitch our tents, and smites our enemies.
What else aside from art? I do want to do an art stream though. Whoa, ha 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 ha. Okay, so that's quicksand. Got it. I'm gonna see what's over there. Early art streams are elite. I miss them honestly. I have one of the VODs that I have saved is when I was doing art redeems. Like the blind art redeems where you guys would give me a character and I try to draw them from memory. I should post that on YouTube, honestly.
of kindliness to prepare us for the typhoon that comes.
Is this also? What? Shai Hulud. Hey. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What's happening? Oh, okay. Oh. Was I in that? Okay. Okay. Do I have to do this really fast then? Wah! Don't understand. I played Guild Wars 2. I've suffered through so many of these.
The world is a carcass. Who can turn away the angel of death? Our footsteps are as the drums of the slavers, calling Shai Halud upon our enemies.
Okay. Oh, what's this? Is this a thumper? It's a thumper.
Men must learn to live with their gods. Who can deny a friend the right to walk or ride?
What if I get eaten too?
Only Shai Hulud, the maker.
I wanna get eaten. Oh, there's me. Oh, that was really close. What? Was I too close? Okay, I guess I was too close. Run! Ah.
Did not God give us himself?
Yeah. Game is basically telling you to summon the worm on your enemies.
Taiba, who is the creator, the maker? May his passing cleanse the world. Remember Poritrin. Bila Kaifa.
Bila Kaifa. Game said, Ellie, we saw you do Mad King's Tower. This should be easy. I remember just logging in just for that. And the snowflake one. Who is the creator, the maker? May his passing cleanse the world.
The maker, may his passing cleanse the world. Remember Poritrin. Bila Kaifa.
Bila Kaifa. Getting Bible study flashbacks. The thumper. And now we can summon Shai Hulud. The worm! Flying spaghetti monster. Probably somewhere out there, not in here. Don't know why you would though. So if I haven't, it's probably for PvP. Likely for PvP. If I kill somebody and I don't want them respawning and getting their ship, their ornithopter, I'd put one down next to his downed ship and have it be eaten. Because PvP, you still keep your stuff. Griefing, the game encourages it. Unfortunately. I don't know if... Okay, so in the Fremen can travel across the desert on the worm, and they use thumpers to summon it. I don't think... Who's here? I don't think you can do that in this game. Maybe you can. Who knows? I'm gonna be an absolute menace then. Yeah, there's ornithopter combat. And if you down somebody, kill the pilot, you can have their ship be eaten. There's guilds out there that are specifically PvP centric. Stop shooting! I'm trying to talk here. Does this have more? Ooh, it has more. I know it doesn't show, but I want it to be the same color. It. 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 It's not letting me. I'm gonna steal you so many ships. I don't think you can steal other people's ships. But you can break it as much as you can. It's just that it'll stay there because they can come back and repair it. But if you don't want them to repair it, you can, and you're in the open desert, you can summon the worm to eat it. And now, what is it, this one? Is it this one? This one? What? What? Oh, here. It wasn't the first one. The Thumper. Placing this from a device in the open desert will cause vibrations that will summon any nearby sandworm. Oh, I don't even need to spend anything. I already have it. I want this though. 7th? What are we on the 5th? 6th. Let's see. Where are you? Huh? Here? Or no way, it's gonna make us go all the way over there. Maybe somewhere along here. We just keep going north then. Okay, it has this and then this looking thing. Okay. Here. Then around there. So we just keep going north. I'm gonna stop by here. For the Atreides extraction. But I feel like traveling alongside this wall is like super easy though. So maybe we do this first. Oh my gosh, so much spice in my system. I'll find a way. There's also like sand bikes that are unclaimed. Usually if you're stranded, like if you die and respawn at a trading post, you can hello? Huh? Okay. Sure, game. If you're... What was I saying? Is this where I was? If you're stranded, you can get, like, a free bike. It's usually a really basic one, though. Bum, 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 bum. It's daytime. We're gonna go north. What is this? It doesn't say what it is. Maybe quicksand? I believe in you, Seraph. I know you can. If anybody can steal ships and bikes, you'll figure out a way. Which makes me think you're likely to be Harkonnen aligned. Uh-oh. I need fuel. Unfortunate that these down things don't have fuel. that's a person. Pretty sure. The great thing about this area is that you don't need to worry about the worm and you can just go wherever you please. Except the terrain is horrendous. Okay, we can go. We can go this way. I thought I could like launch myself off. We gotta be wary of quicksand. Let me know if you do get the game, Seraph. I'll send you my server name thingy. I'm playing with a couple other friends, though our schedules are like I play while they're at work, and then when they're playing, I'm usually doing chores and other stuff. Go this way. Or this way. Hey, would you guys happen to have any fuel? I say as I approach in a non-hostile way. Slavers. Now why would you do that? No, they don't have fuel. Perhaps they have a second chest? Nope. It's okay, they were slavers. Keep going. On foot if we have to. That looks like another camp. Teehee. That looks more than a camp. Is that somebody's base? Oh, I've already been there. I don't want to go there. That's a camp. I'm getting distracted, aren't I? My bloodlust is leading me astray. Am I distracted though? If I'm here for a reason, I need fuel. Maybe they have fuel. Have I ever picked up fuel from the camp? No. But you never know. This might be. Whoa, that was rude. She said, no one will miss you. Look, spice. I think I need to find... I might need to go here. You know what? We still have fuel. Let's focus on the story. It's fine. looked like there would be enemies here, but there isn't. What's this? Hello? I'm looking for a cave. So this weekend I'm going to be out of town. So there may not be a stream Monday as well. It's around here somewhere. You miss you already? Oh. I'm not entirely sure yet. It depends when we get back. Because my parents are going to Philippines. We're gonna go visit before they leave. Alright, Cave, where are you? If I go higher, I'll see it, right? Tramp said hi. Hi! Sorry to do we were talking about, oh, all good things, I hope. Ah, that Ellie, grumble grumble. She didn't stream yesterday, grumble grumble, and then she was late today, grumble grumble, even though it hadn't started yet. I don't know what that is. Please tell me it's not in the sky. I like using my binoculars because it makes me feel immersed. Like I really am looking for this stupid thing. It's not anywhere. Where are you? Let's look at the let's look at the clue right here. Okay, this thing right across from it. Got it. This thing, it should be around here. I should be right on it. Right? Right on it. I'm right on it. Mr. Grumble Grumble. Almost. I hear weird sounds and it's freaking me out. I wish I could listen to K-pop. That'll ease some of my anxiety. Maybe it's like right under me. Nope. Nope. One of my alarms is low battery. Instead you get the screams of the damned. Where is it? Unless this is the completely wrong spot. I wonder if it's the terrain making it sound like something screaming. It appeared. It's right here. Game was like, this girl's taking too long. Let's just let's just give it to her. Hey, buddy. Hi. Don't. Do you have fuel? No. What's this? Oh, one single plant. Hello. I'm coming in. I wonder if anybody put down another respawn beacon here. Oh, probably that way. Ah, there's so many dead bodies. Drink water or else. Okay. Everybody hydrate real quick. Hello. Housekeeping. Or else what? Or else I'll be very sad. I'll be very sad that I'm hydrating alone. Did I go in a circle? Wait, I'm lost. How am I lost? All I did was take a sip of my tea. Whoa. Is that a locker? Oh, I forgot. I forgot that we're in slaver territory, so these are all people. These are all bodies. Am I getting closer at all? Ah, there it is. The other thing must be an exit. Ah, it's destroyed. Boo! Okay.
The Sardaukar destruction extends even to these small shrines. I cannot decipher their purpose, but the altar seems to have contained a quantity of spice. And the murals. Such beauty to be destroyed by the cut of a lasgun or blade. All I could decipher from here is another step on the journey of the Zensuni wanderers. Thurgrod. Perhaps there's some link between the Zensuni and the Fremen.
Okay. Now we go to the 7th. Where could that be? What? Wait. That's like here. Somewhere. Okay, it's like right before it goes up. And then between this. Okay, okay. That is here. So it's gonna be down in the crevasse. We should have brought. Oh, I did bring fuel. Look at me, coming prepared. Oh no! I'm so bad at that. It's still there though, like it doesn't go away. There's another one. Hello? I got poisoned. Hold on, let me trigger this. Poison, poison, go away. Do I go into spice mode just to get rid of the poison? Thing is, it's not hurting me as much. There's nothing even here. Okay. Let's go before those guys outside respawn. I think I'm going the right way. Use the compression thingy to Okay, well that would be a smart thing to do. We're not known for that in these parts. I'll try. I'll look. Cause they let you do that, right? In the story? In one of the trials, they let you compact the poison. You're totally right, Jakku. You currently have the brain cell. Between the two of us. Remember it from the tutorial. Yeah. The tutorial. My thing disappeared. Okay. So we go through here. And there might be a way down, but there's a shipwreck here. PvP zone. We just cut straight across. Let's refuel now. How much fuel do we have? Plenty. Sorry, I'll return the brain cell. No, it's okay. You can have it. You're making better use of it than I. Ah! Wow, of all this open space, and I hit the one rock in the center. I definitely don't have the brain cell. Is the command still up? Can you try it? Exclamation mark brain cell. Or brain or something. Hey. Forgot about this. Yeah, there's also cute. Maybe? I don't remember. Oh, dead end. Okay. 21%! It's better than 0. Oh, there's the wreck. I don't know when the PvP zone starts. You guys want to see how fast I can run? Isn't that like something little kids say? You want to see how fast I can run? Look at this. Yeah. I don't know where I started, but I'm fast. Oops. Map. So there's no way into there from here. We're gonna have to go up and then down, yes? We're almost there. I'm avoiding the wreck because it's PvP territory. I'm just a baby. I don't PvP. I've never even hurt a person in my life. Just kidding. I've hurt so many people. NPCs, not actual people. Just to clarify, guys, I don't actually murder people when I say I'm about to unalive someone in Minecraft. The voices, they tell me to run. Oh, you murdered me in Red Dead. You killed me first. You killed me like so many times. And then I learned how to aim. Hey, you remember? I do! Where the heck? This way. Oh look, is that someone's base? Is it just floating? Or am I saying things? It's not someone's base. It's a hideout. Shall we clear it? You guys want to see how I fight? Not well. How do you get up there? Whoa. Okay, I'm getting distracted. Wait, we're doing a story. We're doing a story. We're doing a story. Focus. That looked like a face. See the eye? And then the nose? Avoiding this area. Wait. I'm not ready to go down there. Because what if it's here and not down there? Don't be nervous. I got this. I totally got this. Smile. Famous last words. Okay, it's somewhere around here. And probably gonna be below. Unless... It's calling to me. I want to clear it. Oh, somebody's there. Well, that's a lot of gunfire. Okay, I'm here, and the trial location is like in the middle of it, so it's probably in the bottom, right? Oh, I wish I could zoom in. Why didn't my sunstroke go down at all? I was in the shade for so long. Okay. The sun is moving. Or the shadow is moving. I can't see anything. Guess we're going down. And more down. I love my suspensor belt. I just hope it... Oh, wrong way. Just hope it's not... I should start bringing two. Let's hope it's not on the other side. Is it that? It's probably that on the other side, huh? There seems to be a bridge that we could cross. So if we jump down to there, maybe. Unless we cross here. And then drop down. But then we wouldn't be able to see. Ugh. Teehee. Any day now, the marker will appear. So I'm not guessing. It's so high. Be too far. Alright, one down. That's a person. It has to be here. Wait, that's the... Oh, what if it was above, huh? Because this is likely that. Oh boy, okay. Oh.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
Leaping chasm. Okay. It's not up, it's down. Do we keep going down? It says it's still below. Okay. 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 Keep going down. Red lights are so freaky. It's this way. It's at the very bottom. Wow, the red maw. Level up.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm
Unlucky.
is approaching.
Wait, this place looks tampered with. There's stuff here. What? Hey. Well, that wasn't my poor aim, I swear. It's the lag. See? More spiced food. They just give me a lot of spice. Where's the altar? So dusty in here.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
Something I want them to fix is for the sandstorm, you can like see it even though you're inside a shelter. Not that way. Latte's playing with a toy. Got sand in my eyes. Okay. Ready? We gotta remove our helmet so you guys can see the face that I spent 2 hours on. Inhale the sparsh. Your skin isn't too light now. It was in some lights it is. In some lights it's like white. Here you can see some color. And the only reason I bring it up is because Harkonnens are like sheet white. They pump their bodies with chemicals and stuff that make them hairless and...
Why were we created? Ibn Kirtaiba.
I want to
The
salute
weight
like
of
that.
a kindly god is a fearful thing. Do you understand, Wali?
Hey.
Our god gave us the Hulasikali Wala, the wind that eats flesh, and the words of the Kitab
Ooh,
al-Iman
this thing.
carry shelter always against the country of Kranizik. Bila Kaifa.
Yay! I wanted one of these. shelter always. What?
We were exiled from Nilotic Al Urobra for our unwillingness to fight.
Oh, pacifists.
For our willingness to forgive.
He sounds like
For
me.
our willingness to forget.
Not that part.
And the judges said, mine enemies are like clean blades eaten down, that did stand in the path of the tempest. Hast thou not seen what our Lord did?
Huh. Hello.
The weight of a kindly God is a fearful thing. Why did God
He has a
create
beak.
us? We are the action and knowledge of God, and He has prepared the way.
Do I have to wear one of those now? That I can... That I'm... something spice. Which way? That way? That way. I wonder how many people jumped that and fell. Whoa. Oh.
Ibn Kirtaiba, the typhoon's struggle comes. Why were we created?
To serve what? The war at the end of the universe. That's a horrible reason to create something.
To survive Kralizek, the
Kralizek.
war at the end of the universe. Yahya Shuhada. Remember Nilotic Al Urobra. Bila Kaifa.
I don't want to remember all this. I hope there's not a pop quiz. Yay! We can make a tent now. On top of the world. I'm getting like achievements like super late. I got an achievement for reaching the top of Merzapa, which we did at the very beginning of this stream. It's loading a while. You can camp out in the desert. Yay! Maybe I think if I get like caught in a sandstorm, I can pull one out. Though I don't know why I would take up an inventory space to have one. She's getting like spice withdrawal. Yay! Next, the final cave. Uh-oh. Alright. Where's the final cave? Oh. Oh. I don't know where this is. Top wall. This, that. Top wall. I want to know what that hole is. No. Nope. It's like pretty flat. I don't recognize that anywhere. It's pretty straight, and then this long thing. I don't recognize it at all. I wonder if it's here. Area's pretty tough to get to though. Kinda scared. This is pretty straight, but it doesn't... Might have to be for another stream. I want to get these though. Do I have my survey probe with me, but only one, I think. Oh, okay, I have two. I have enough. Don't you see the long part? Where? I don't see the long part. Oh, with this? No. This? Let me look here. Yeah. So then it would be like right here, which I've already been to. Oh, that's doable. That's doable. Where are we? We are here at the very frickin' bottom. But if we travel this way... It's doable. Let's do it. We just have to keep going west. East? West. West. These? Did I open those already? Did it take so long that the loot reset? Cool that you saw that, because I totally didn't. Haha. Alright.
Who's that?
Whoa. Hey.
Target found.
Hey. Okay. East is this way. Right? No. Wait, we're going west. We're going west. We gotta go west. Hold on. Northwest? Yes. We just follow the road. Oh. Okay. We just follow the road. Whee. I wonder how hot it is down here. Or do you think it's like super cold down here? Because like that's open sky, but it's still pretty dark down here. I wonder if it's just my settings. Am I going the right way? This way. No, deserts get super cold during nights. Yes. Is someone shooting me? Don't do that. I think off stream I'm gonna do a little bit more farming. This looks like the way out. No, it's not the way out. I don't think there's any way through there. Let me just clear this.
Who's there?
It's me.
Where is everybody?
What's that? Oh my god! Oh. Wait, let me get my stamina back. Okay. Does it go anywhere in this planet? I talked to a representative of something, and they said that they mine ice in the caps of Arrakis, and this planet is Arrakis. So I think the polar caps are ice. How do we get out? So it's just all desert and the caps have ice. Yuck. How to out? How to out? I don't want to climb. My suspensor belt's not gonna survive if I climb. I think I just need to get to there. Huh. I think I just need to get to there. We'll climb up to there and see if it's... right here, maybe? This is the life of someone who doesn't have an ornithopter. Isn't it horrible? Okay. I probably should have climbed the other side. Oh no. Am I stuck? Oh. A little hole. I really want to read a book. So I can improve my writing skills. Freshen up on my writing skills. Oh, it's nighttime. Hey, anything cool over here? Nope. Alright, we have to go more west. Which is there. I'm gonna try to fit in this final trial before I get off. Today's stream is pretty short. At least I think it is. Or it's the standard length, who knows. Wow, a whole ramp. I wonder if it takes you straight up to that. Oh, thanks, buddy. We keep going west. Oh. Oh. I'm pretty sure if we go down, we can go around this. And then it'll be here on that wall. Yeah. Okay. Should we pay a visit to the city? The little trade post? I don't think I need to. We're good. Let's do a sprint. Just whispering in my ears. Someone should make a mod that replaces those voices with like the Animal Crossing voices. If I go south straight to here, it should be a pretty clean path and I won't get which way south? Imagine Animal Crossing voices instead of this guy whispering in my ear. I find it funny though that it's a Bene Gesserit skill. Wonder how they managed to do that. I wonder if it's part of the override your nervous system and musculature with an immense surge of activity, allowing you to run forward at an incredible speed. Ah. This feels so much faster than being on the bike. Person. It's a body. Someone died here. Let's drink some water. Everybody hydrate. So we can keep running forever. Wonder if I can make it here. Oh. I can make the Chris knife. Using 191 damage. Wait, what? 100? Yo! And I had one of those tooths. Teeths. Yo! Yo! Where is it? Where'd it go? We gotta go feed ourselves to the worm! I want one! Makes me wonder though, like if they had to feed themselves to the worm, why do I feel like that weapon breaks in a couple hits, right? Like it only lets you do one hit. But I want to try. Let's go feed ourselves to a worm before we end stream and make that. I don't know if I have to do it multiple times. It says it is very brittle. Yeah. I probably can't parry with it then, huh? Cool. There's a cave here. The trap. I wonder why it's called the trap. I sure hope there aren't any traps. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I see
Oh.
someone.
Hey. Oh, I missed. Why would you throw that so close? Oops. For a place called the Trap, there's not that many traps. Ooh! Another water thing. Where is it? Wow. Is there like a thing in there? Hello? Oh. I passed my perception check. Wonder if there's anything behind here. Nope. Made myself get heavy for no reason. Wah! This cave is huge. Still no traps though. Should I bother making the... what? Should I bother making the knife then, if it's brittle? Because I'd want to test it out. But then if it breaks after like one use, then I'm gonna be quite disappointed. It says there's something forward. A 100 meters. Oh, it's a representative. Hey, what you doing out here? Who are you? Another break. Stretch your fingies, nuggies. It would be neat to see it in use once at least, and then you'll know. I suppose. Hold on, I want to see, like... It only weighs like 1 pound. What is V? Their measure in weight is like V. What does that mean? Escape. Hello. You look interesting.
Greetings, my friend. If you seek the favor of House Hegel,
Hegel?
I'm just the one to talk to.
Tell me about yourself.
I'm Theo Scordy, musician and Hegelese folk singer. But by strange fate, I find myself serving the representatives of House Hegel in the Landsraad.
Strange
A
fate?
noble's mistress made a pass at me. I was rewarded with this prestigious exile.
Oh. You say you were originally a folk singer.
Hegel, you see, is a mining planet. Most everyone there is involved with mining, directly or indirectly. A culture of long days in the tunnels. Such Hegel's folk musicians are in demand across the known universe.
It.
I sang for many nobles in many great halls. Turns out, I cultivated the same circle of acquaintances a house representative ought to cultivate. And I have a certain way with people, if you know what I mean.
An interesting path to be sure.
Right you are. I've collected some good stories along the way. Though I'd always rather sing than speak them. And so I've
Thank you
come
for the
to Arrakis.
follow. Welcome.
Lately, I've made a habit
Oh my
of
gosh,
visiting the
little
Shield Wall.
Conan.
I heard the sandflies keep settlements out here.
Welcome. Hello, how are you? Visiting Shield Wall, heard the sandflies keep settlements out here. What's your interest with the sandflies?
They are an outlaw band. They were formed by a core of hard workers, squeezed to the breaking point by oppressive suffering. And in that suffering, they found catharsis in song. I wish to study their hidden and raw folk music traditions.
Rather dangerous group to seek music lessons from, no?
True. But even if I do not deal with the sandflies directly, I should like to at least absorb some of the environment that helped shape their songs.
Okay, so now that I'm aligned with the house, I don't know if speaking to these guys will do something different than it did before. Like, we can help each other. Like, I don't want to align myself with his house. But I'm curious if that...
Oh, all right. I am delighted to sing the praises of any who prove to be a good friend to me and my house.
Okay.
Our home world is Hegel, the jewel planet. Vast mountain ranges and vaster seams of mineral wealth.
Ooh.
We're defined by our mining, ambition, and wealth. We're known for our soulstones and fire opals. We mined many of the Carino crown jewels. The Imperial throne itself is fashioned from Hegel quartz. Some houses boast of being the power behind the throne. We truly are the throne.
So they're rich. Your house has used its wealth well in avoiding war.
Thank you. War destroys, and we would rather craft.
Okay.
Our history is not so very exciting or erratic. Just a gradual and sure climb in stature. Our place as a great house was secured long ago.
Okay. Alright, so
What business
it
do you
doesn't
have with House
seem...
Hegel?
It doesn't seem to do anything for me yet. Like, I don't need to... I'll just learn about them for now. It seems like the cave is close. The origins that I almost was is in Arrakeen. Maybe I'll pay a visit to the base. It's still pretty far though, actually. Never mind. Alright, so it was around here. So we need to start climbing. If anything, I do need to end early, but if anything, I can do the last thing tomorrow. Hey, somebody's base is right here. We'll see how long it takes me to find this. Oh my goodness, so many bases here actually. Hey, can I chill here? Nope. So those also look like bases. That's the base. That's a base. That is also a base. Okay. So, like, right before the dip. It's like here? Okay, here? It looks to be... Can I go through this? I hope I didn't lock myself in. I'm in somebody's base. Yeah, I did lock myself in. Excuse me. Sorry. Didn't mean to intrude. Maybe this way. Blah. Oh. There was a siege here. I remember passing through here. Oh no, this one. Iron Watch. Wait, no. What? Huh? How far down is this thing gonna go? Whoa. I want to use my surveyor thing, but I feel like I have to go all the way over there to do it. Yeah. And then I didn't even fix my thing. Oh boy. I didn't fix my suspensor belt. There, maybe? I'm scared. Shall we just go down? If anything, I can go here, and then I'll be safe, right? I won't be in the desert. Here goes. Oh. Wait, I am in the biome now. Am I high enough? I am! This is always so cool. When I played with Grim, he said he saw the lines from where he was, and he was like at the bottom and then I was at the mountain. So other players can see this. But we were in party, so maybe that was why. Yay. Ta-da! Whoa. That looks interesting. That looks really interesting. Impact of ecology. Whoa, quicksand. I feel like I can't traverse this. I would definitely need a, like, I feel like I'm gonna die here. Kinda scared. Okay. So we gotta find where the... I guess it's there, right? Gotta keep going down. Let go. Let go. And then it's not here. Oh no! I don't want to have to climb. Are you serious? Oh, it's here. Please tell me it's here. No. Oh, maybe. Oh, maybe. It is. This is like from the movie. This is like from the movie. Siege Talab. Discover what lies within. I hope there's no fighting because I'm pretty weak. Get some water. Oh my goodness, my belt is breaking. Oh, I forgot to put my helmet on. I picked this up from a chest, but it's stronger than what I have, so... Oh, there's definitely gonna be fighting. Should I save it for tomorrow? Okay. I think... Let's see. There's so much. There's so much! Okay. Oh, there's people there. That's a person. I'm scared because we're in a new area and I'm definitely not equipped to fight people in here. I don't think I've fought anybody in here either. Except for that one thing. Let's try this out.
Blasphemer! For the lightning one!
Ooh. Hey. I'm good. What are you wearing? Okay, they're definitely giving out higher tier loot. So kind of scared. I'm not equipped to be here. Let's see if we can cheese. Oh, I don't have a checkpoint. I hope it makes a checkpoint for me soon. Is that it? Just one team? Okay. Carved in the door depict a series of planets, a Solido projection of a handprint flickers in front of the door. Place your hand on the projection. The whir of machinery begins from the walls around the door.
We are the people of Misr. We have known flight and death. The young go
Oh
on
no, it
that
is a
our
pop
people
quiz.
shall not die. Where did our flight begin?
I don't know. Ah! Hey, Jack, can I borrow the brain cell? Or... Okay, we are the people of Misier. We have known flight and death. The young go on that our people shall not die. Where did our flight begin? Hell if I know. What if we choose the first one?
You have failed the proving, young one. Return to your siege and tell your naib of your shame.
For shame! Alright, now we try the second one. ETA transferring brain cell 11 hours!
We are the people of Misr.
Okay.
We have known flight and death. The young go on that our people shall not die.
Now we try the second option.
Where did our flight begin? We grew soft.
Yay!
So God brought us the weight of kindness to prepare for the typhoon. Name the planet where we lost our way.
Oh shoot. The planet? I knew there was gonna be a pop quiz. I didn't study. I wasn't paying attention. Planet. Let's go for the second one again.
On our wanderings,
Yay!
we came to a
What if it's
planet
all the
devoid
second
of
one?
gods, where war was constant and violence was religion. Have you learned its name, Wally?
What? The planet where war was constant and violence was religion. No, I don't know.
We remember the slave
I'm
creeds
guessing.
where we were held, weeded out, persecuted. Do you remember too, Wally?
Shoot. I don't even remember what I answered last. This one?
The thread of the past is carried by word until we found the poison drug. One of the cursed planets was a blessing for our Sayadina.
I don't know. The first one.
So many planets across so many centuries. Our people broke apart, split, reformed. Some planets we barely remember at all.
What's the question? So many planets across so many centuries. Our people broke apart, split, reformed. Some planets we barely remember at all. Huh? It's not Arrakis. Unless, is this the last question? I don't know. Let's guess.
You have failed the proving.
Okay. Shoot, I should have written my answers.
We are the people of Misr.
Second.
We grew
Second.
soft on our
Oh,
wandering.
okay. It's
We
our.
remember
It's
the thread
it's.
of the past. So many planets.
Okay, not
across
Arrakis.
So many centuries.
Harmonthep.
You have failed.
Frick! Okay.
We are the people of Misr.
This
We
one.
grew soft on our wanderings. We remembered the thread of the past. So many planets.
Third grad.
A long
Yeah.
journey,
Oh
young
no.
But we are
There's
almost
more.
just one last place of suffering, where our children were taken and made slaves.
I don't know. Old Earth? That's not familiar at all. Were these the answers for any of the previous ones?
The time of
Yeah!
war has ended. Young Wali, Pass within and seek your Uma.
Uma. I am humbled. I did get humbled. But why am I all drugged up? My eyes are so blue. Am I high on spice? She has so much spice in her system. Uh-oh.
The path of the Zensuni Exodus is rare and hidden knowledge.
Oh.
You are no Masquerade cultist. Who are you? What do you seek here?
I only have one option, so if I don't have this, the trials of Alk brought me here in search of the Fremen.
The trials of Akal.
Akal.
Knowledge of that name lends you credibility. But you seek the Fremen? You must know they're dead.
I've seen them in my Spicefield dreams. I've seen enough to doubt that they're really dead. She's so... Her too. We both have a lot of spice. I know you. You're on the cover of the game.
Encoded for Fremen biometrics. How did you bypass it?
You followed me in. You tell me. I am Bene Gesserit, so saying this seems appropriate. But I kind of want to...
Perhaps we can help each other.
I feel like all of the dialogue options lead to the same thing anyway. Why? What do you want with this place? The door opened for me. You're the trespasser here.
I'm a scholar of Fremen social, cultural, and philosophical constructs, both past and present. They fascinate me.
Okay.
And I've studied the layout of this place. It's a death trap.
Okay.
Between the Masquerade trying to blow their way in and the structural damage left by the Sardaukar, the whole thing could come crashing down.
You go first. The moment demands cooperation. I have your back.
And I have yours. The name's Aerie.
Aerie. I'm Ellie. Who's coming after me if this all goes wrong? Who sent you?
I serve no one. Let's say I'm something of a freebooting academic.
Hey.
And like you, my interests lie in discovering the true extent of the Fremen eradication. Or more to the point, discovering if that eradication even occurred.
I mean, yes. Because they're gone. If they're not dead, where are they? That's our mission, isn't it? Where do your freebooter academic senses figure they're at? You're... okay.
South, maybe.
The rest of the
Arrakis
options are so snarky.
And while we like to think we're at the center of all things, in relative terms, the sphere of Imperial influence is rather small. They could be anywhere beyond the deep desert or the Tanzaruft, as it's known to the Ikhwan Bedouin. Not entirely. I'm sure the Sardaukar massacred them by the thousands. This siege bears evidence of that.
I agree.
But you're right. I don't believe the Imperial account. And I'm hoping the truth, or part of it, awaits us inside.
Teeth look funny.
If we survive.
Bye. So, I have a... Yay. I have a friend. Oh my god. Friend. I need to sneeze. Get a mute. Okay, I sneezed twice. Alright, let's go. This is no longer a short stream and it's just a regular stream length. I feel like we're gonna be falling. Yay! Yeah, because I still have a lot to go. And if I leave it here, that means I can't play later in the afternoon. Hey, a light. Examine.
It serves the Emperor to depict the Fremen as barbarous and savage, but look at their craft. I see the work of a socially and materially advanced people. A people with the innate practicality and good sense to worship a local and very available god. That's also, conveniently, an apex megapredator.
You know?
It serves the Emperor to depict the Fremen as barbarous and savage, but look at their craft. I see the work of a
Why is the music so scary?
A people with the innate practicality and good
I want to
sense
explore.
to worship a local and very available god. That's also, conveniently, an apex megapredator.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay. So I'm assuming something is gonna knock us down there. Oh, my frames. Okay. Left or right? Left.
This would have been the central water repository for the entire Siege community. The Fremen value water above any commodity. Feel the dampness in the air? The smell of wet stone? It reminds me of a special place, far away from here. To the Fremen, water is holy. Water is life. Consider the still suit, a design that's both a testament to Fremen ingenuity and a metaphor for their almost religious determination to never waste a drop.
Uh-huh. Loot! Okay. Time to go right.
Did you encounter the Masquerade on your way here? There's some
What's
kind
that?
of cult. Worm worshippers based out of an abandoned power station far to the west. It's odd to see them this far east, but if they've found this place, they'll be coming.
Ah, okay. Uh-oh. They wouldn't be in here though, because they couldn't get through the door. I'm gonna get lost, aren't I?
Down here, water discipline would finally be relaxed. Visitors could shed their dusty still suits and find refreshment.
Uh-huh. She's she's like our tour guide, but she also has never been here. Oh my goodness. Frames, please. Oh, I feel like I should have gone home first and deposited all this stuff.
Looks like there's no other way forward.
No.
Brought your cutter ray.
I keep wasting my heals. Oh. Is that a Fremen? Looks like they were wearing a still suit. Should I go back and go to the downstairs part of that? Because I didn't go there.
We'll probably find that a lot of corridors and subchambers are collapsed and impassable.
Some would have been brought down by the Sardaukar to deny key areas and resources to any survivors. Others would have been brought down by the Fremen themselves to crush the invaders.
Channel them to a kill zone. Interesting music.
The Fremen were known to keep large nests of scorpions in order to harvest their venom for blades. That's a door I don't want to open.
I'm gonna get so lost. Move! This feels like a single player game, you know?
Strange to think these corridors once echoed with the hopes and dreams of a lost multitude. Mothers, fathers, and children beyond count. And now, only silence. A silence this rock hasn't known in 10,000 years.
My aim! Only time you see other players is when you don't want to see them. Yeah. I wonder if I left, would she have still followed me? Whoa!
Our first goal on Arrakis is grassland provinces. We will start with these mutated poverty grasses. When we have moisture locked in grassland,
it's a school.
We'll move on to start upland forests, then a few open bodies of water, small at first, and situated along lines of prevailing winds with wind-trap moisture precipitators spaced in the lines to recapture what the wind steals. We must create a true sirocco, a moist wind, but we will never get away from the necessity for wind traps. This ecological transformation of Arrakis relies upon us controlling 3% of the energy surface. Only 3% to start a self-sustaining system. Learn this lesson well. Our transformation begins in the plantations of the south and proceeds in simple steps. To begin, bind the dunes using grass. Secondly, create deep plantings in the shelter of the downwind face. Finally, introduce burrowing animals to aerate the soil. You will be tested on how well you have learned to recognize the language of the ecological transformation. Remember your lessons, and the door to the future will open.
I zoned out. Cavern. Dune. We can learn the language here. Downwind. Fire. Animal. It's the little mouse. Bind. Narrate. Tree. Sand. Rock. Shelter. Grass, mountain, moon, because there's two of them. Planting. Okay. Lesson 1. What does that mean? Aerate. Lesson 1, aerate. Oh no. Oh no, okay. You will be tested. I should have been paying attention. This is very un-Macy-like of me. Hey sir, can you start over?
To begin, bind the dunes using grass. Secondly, create deep plantings in the shelter of the downwind face. Finally, introduce burrowing animals to aerate the soil. You will be tested on how well you have learned to recognize the language of the ecological transformation. To begin, bind the dunes using grass. Secondly, create deep plantings in the shelter of the downwind face. Finally, introduce borrowing animals to aerate the soil. You will be tested on how well you have learned to recognize the language of the ecological transformation. Remember your lessons.
The dunes.
And the door to the future will open.
That's not a dune. That's a dune. Find the dunes using sand.
Very good.
Hey, and then?
To begin, bind the dunes using grass.
You had to pay attention.
Secondly, create deep plantings in the shelter of the downwind face. Finally,
deep plantings.
Introduce burrowing animals to
Start over.
Begin. Bind the dunes using grass. Secondly, create deep plantings in the shelter of the downwind face. Finally, introduce burrowing to begin.
Plant.
Bind the dunes using grass. Secondly, create deep plantings in the shelter of the downwind face. Finally,
Shelter.
introduce burrowing
In the
animals
downwind
to aerate the soil.
face.
You will be tested on how well you have learned to recognize the language of the ecological transformation. Remember your lessons. And the door
What's
to the
number
future.
3? Start
To
over.
begin, bind the dunes using grass. Secondly, create deep plantings in the shelter of the downwind face. Finally, introduce burrowing animals to aerate the soil. You will be tested on how well you have learned to recognize the language of the ecological. To begin, bind the dunes using grass. Secondly, create deep plantings in the shelter of the downwind face. Finally, introduce burrowing animals to aerate the soil. You will be tested on how well you have learned to recognize the language of the ecological transformation. Remember your lessons, and the door to the future will open.
Soil? No. What?
To begin, bind the dunes using grass. Secondly, create deep plantings in the shelter of the downwind face. Finally, introduce burrowing animals to aerate the soil. You will be tested on how well you have learned
Is
to
there
recognize
burrow?
the language of the ecological transformation. Remember your lessons, and the door to the future will open.
Sand, rock, shelter, tree, rock. Introduce burrowing animals to aerate. Burrowing animals to aerate the soil. Is there soil? Is there what? Animal. To aerate. Actually, that was correct. To aerate the soil. Let's just see if any of them. Yeah!
Of a Fremen pre-adolescent.
It was this. Sand. To soil.
Good work. This must be the way.
I'm doing all the heavy lifting. Whoa. Oh, that was a body. To begin, blah 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 blah. I still didn't pay attention.
Now we come to the private living areas of the Siege proper. In a Siege community, the leader was known as the Nime, and the various Knives were often jealous of each other and liked to measure their relative influence by the number of hearths they commanded within their Siege. Siege Talab is a smaller Siege hosting roughly 500 hearths. Siege Tabor, by comparison, the community Pardo Kynes lived within, was said to host well over 2,000.
Yeah. looks if he was pretty influential.
That's correct. I was hoping it would take them longer to arrive in force.
Oh.
We'd better hurry up and be done with our business here.
I can't fight if we're expected to fight. We'll probably die. Where are we?
This must be the Cavern of Council, the cultural and political heart of any Siege community. It's here that Siege dwellers would gather to hear a traveling crier regale the community with news from beyond. And up there, upon that great terrace extending over the room, is the reason we're here today.
Okay. I'm here for loot. I don't know about you. I wonder if she'll fight. I hope so.
At death still, the place all Fremen end up at death, so they may return their water to the tribe. That script upon the platform reads, "The water of the tribe shall reveal the path." And I believe the path in question is related to the secret that's brought us both here. And while you were clearly a Fremen, you were able to pass their biometric locks without tampering or delay. Whatever lies beyond here, I believe your blood is the key.
Wow, okay. You just don't want me to kill you and put your body on there. Misaligned. Alright, rotate. Hello? How many rings? 3? Oh. Oh. Still misaligned. Oh. Shoot. How do I rotate it the other way? Oh, there's an outer ring. Oh. There an inner? This is the end. Whoa! Oh, that gave me motion sickness. I actually don't see what I'm supposed to be doing. That? Nope, wrong way. Is it outer? No. How do I get that? Come here. Stay there. Okay. Ellie is confused. Guys, this is gonna take a while. No. No. No! Okay.
Very good.
Yay! She praised me. I think that means... Nope. What? Move closer and face it. How much closer? Aha. Pour blood. No, my stupid helmet. That's a lot of blood. Sparkly. Enter the secret chamber. Look at this tech. If her helmet can be off, so can mine. This is Fremen tech?
Greetings, and Sabakul. If you are watching this, I am likely dead or captured. I came to Siege Talab in the same condition you find it now. Abandoned and despoiled. I must have triggered some kind of hidden alarm, because the Sardaukar were at my heels before long. They found me. I haven't long. So listen well. I was brought to this planet, like you and many others, with one overriding directive. Find the Fremen.
Got my eyeball.
I finally came face to face with my quarry. I did not find the villains as described by the Communinet or the Emperor. Instead, I found a noble people being drawn into a conspiracy not of their making. A conspiracy extending from the very heart of the Imperium to the dark corridors of... I have to go.
Uh-huh.
They don't know where I am right now, but I can't risk them finding what I leave for you. I wish there was more time. I have much to tell you, but your mere presence in this secret chamber indicates that the ones who sent us will not stop until they achieve their
I wanna
aims.
make it sandwich.
I have hidden the details of my journey on a mimetic film locked within the safe on the wall. As with the security door and the death still, our blood is the key. And now, I lead the Sardaukar as far from here as I may. Ma salam.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. Any comments? No comments?
Tricky Fremen. I believe more than half the technology in this room violates the first 11 Butlerian prescriptions. Probably more. Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind. And while the Fremen are ingenious, this technology far exceeds their reach.
Okay. I was saying, no way this is Fremen tech. But I guess... Okay. Loot. They're giving me ammo and heal kits. And a power pack. Uh-oh. Oh. Here. Use blood to open safe.
Who are you really?
What do you mean?
This film is encrypted with a kind of protection I've only encountered in the restricted section at the Nemesine Library on Artesia. I believe that encryption was of Ixian origin.
Okay. How do we decode it?
That's not good. We need an Ixian decoder to access whatever is on this. And I have access to the resources of a great house.
How do I know you won't just run off with that thing?
Don't be concerned. I'll reach out when I have more information. If we Atreides are known for anything,
Atreides!
it's our stiff-necked honor.
Hey,
Besides,
okay. I trust
as
her.
a mystery, you rank right up there with this film. Parting with people is a sadness. A place is only a place.
Okay, goodbye. Mimic film. And it's not in my inventory, so it's probably a quest item that I cannot lose, which is good, because then that means if I die, I'll still have it, and I don't have to come all the way here. Find a way out of the secret chamber. Any of these on the door? Oh, whoa, this wasn't here before. Oh boy. Oh boy. And it's time to fight. Oh. Girl, you have a planar suspensor belt. Why are you landing on your knees? I was T-posing.
It's the Masquerette. I'm going to try to draw them off. I'll make contact when I have the film decrypted.
Infidels! The lightning worm cannot be deceived! You would pay for your desecration in blood! After them! Do not let them escape!
I don't want to fight. Survive the assault. Okay. What? Are they down there? They're mad at me. I don't even see. Oh. The loot respawned. Someone is here, they say. How do you know? I'm hidden. I didn't get to go down here. It's down here. Oh. There's nothing here. I thought there was something here. I saw like a corridor. Someone's here. They're suspicious of me. Oh no, my belt's about to break. Wait! Yes, I'm just a baby. Ah! Oh gosh. This guy is using his fists. Whoa. Okay, why are they so... They're so weak, actually. Ah! Don't punch me! I wasn't even... Okay, this guy's not bad. Ah! Oh my god. Don't shoot! I'm just a baby. Oh, that didn't work. I killed them in one swing! Okay, oh, there's more. I was about to say, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. But they died in like one swing. Definitely not normal. I think they've made this fight easier because it's part of the story. And you have no choice. Lots of loot. Oh my god, there's so many of them. Whose back do you have? No! Ah! point blank poison. Wait, I can do the thing now? No, it's gone. I'm too slow. I was gonna see if I could use the compactor. Okay, well, find your way out. Oh, wrong way. Okay, so the Fremen were going from planet to planet. I still find that surprising. I thought they were native. Shows what I know about this game. That's not the way out. Okay, where is the way out? Oh, did this door open? Wait, I could have just left. I didn't need to fight. Echoes of the past. Complete the first part of the story. First part of the story. Wait for Ari to find information about decoding the mnemic film. Yay. Wait, I've been here. Huh. Okay. I'm letting this cycle through. Well. Now we have this. I wonder how long that's gonna take. After investigating the siege, I stumbled across a mysterious recording which detailed a different man and his attempt to find the Fremen. Of others been sent to this quest before me. There are more answers hidden on a mnemic film. I gave it to my companion, Ari, who revealed herself as a member of one of the great houses. Ari will search for a decoder. Is it Ari or Ari? We'll search for a decoder for the mnemic film. I must wait for her to contact me. Okay, look at how much intel we have. And now we can make this. But like how? I have to carry bodies to base somehow. What's this? Ari's pistol. Special Mala pistol that greatly increases accuracy while prescient. Well, I'm never gonna use that because okay. So, well, guys, that's it for today. At least we can run straight here and then up. Nar? What do you mean Nar? It's been 3 hours. I was like, I'll only do like an hour or two of stream. It's 3 hours. Nar. What do you mean Nar? It seems like to unlock this, I will need a plane. And then Grim said that I could go to their base and build one. But that seems like cheating. The stream must flow. The spice must flow. So, what we can do... We have to wait. So I'm gonna go back to base. And then I'm gonna probably do some more farming. I like to farm all my materials off stream because I feel like that's just like... brainless activity. I like to turn my brain off and just do that. I want to do this. Complete contracts for your sponsor. My sponsor is that guy. And he wants me to do... the one that's all the way over here. That's so far. I really should have done that in the middle of it. But I didn't. Haha. Okay. think I want to move my base. So I'll probably do that off stream. I might move it like, I don't know where I'd move it. Around here? Cause then I could just take my stuff across here, take a like a pilot thingy to fly me here, and then it'll be super close. I just want it close to a TP. And I feel like I've outgrown this area, even though I haven't done any of this. I need to do side quests. I'll grind side quests off stream. I want to show you guys Arakeen and Harko village. Maybe next stream. Anyways, thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks for coming to stream. Thanks for watching me struggle to find Seach's. Do I need to put my helmet on? No, I haven't. I need to go fix this before I get stranded of a lot of stuff, so I really should get back to base and put this all away. I need to find also a new spot to live in. The great thing about here is that I don't have to worry about crossing the desert. I don't have to worry about worms. Teehee. Maybe next stream I'll show you guys around the base that Grim and his friends built. There's also this. I could go down here, travel here, and check this base out. This was their first base, and then they abandoned it to go here. And then they said I could live there as well. But then I'd have the same issue where I'd have to cross the desert to get anywhere that I wanted. I just really want to be close to a TP until I can fly at least. Anyways, she's so pale. I have to comment on her skin at least once per stream, it seems. I feel like I did a lot. I completed that story part, finding the Fremen. Who knows what's next? I don't even know what this is. And then there's this. Oh, this is just researching. Whoa. These are just, yeah, shield wall and... Where's that? What's Odom... Bada? This. Ah, okay. So this has its own journey quests. And then whatever this is. Location. Ugh, I don't want to do that. Oh yeah, I did find the bank and I deposited money. Undertake and progress a task for a great house. I'm doing that. This. Yeah. Anyways. I will see you guys tomorrow? Maybe? Question mark? Yeah. Thanks for being here. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Thank you for the follow and for the fun conversations. I appreciate